Well, it's another great day to begin with a 49ers alarm clock update. We're going to talk about Robert Saleh, who I think is one of the biggest acquisitions of this offseason. I've learned some stuff in Palm Beach that really should tie a lot of things together as we begin to analyze how the 2025 49ers are going to attack the season. Of course, the NFL draft has to happen first, and we always like to look for some tea leaves. Check this out. Miles Frazier, this is an offensive guard from LSU. This is what he posted on Instagram. It says San Francisco, California. Now, I try to pause it to see the freeway sign, but it's blocked. I wanted to see where he was because obviously to visit the 49ers, you got to go to Santa Clara, not San Francisco. I wanted to see what exit he was at. I can't tell. So the rumor is that maybe Miles Frazier is visiting the 49ers. We'll find out more soon. In case he is, this is an offensive lineman projected to go in the 5th round who's got solid relative athletic score. This is a quick look at it. Good size, good explosion. The vertical jump of 31 inches at 317 pounds is impressive. A 9-foot broad jump. He's decently fast, decently quick. Nothing great. The 3-cone, not anything under 7 seconds, which is what you typically look for in a more elite player. But this guy is solid. He should be somewhere between a 3rd and a 5th rounder, better at pass blocking than he is at run blocking. That is Miles Frazier, who is in the Bay Area. Maybe a 30 visit for the 49ers. We only know of 2 30 visits so far. Both have been tight ends, Harold Fannin Jr. and Jalen Conyers. Anyway, let's go to the 49ers' big pickup. Robert Saleh. Want a picture of him? It's this guy right here. Reason I want to talk about Saleh is because this is something that I really gathered in Palm Beach. I think that people whine about so many things regarding the 49ers, but they don't actually whine about the bona fide weaknesses of this team. They find made up stuff to complain about. But if you're not worried about the 49ers run defense, well, you're not focusing on the actual weakness. The run defense was horrific last year. And if they don't improve the run defense in 2025, regardless of any potential improvements elsewhere, the 49ers will not get better as a football team. So I asked Kyle Shanahan about the run defense at the owners' meetings, NFC coaches breakfast. Here's what he had to say.
A lot. I mean, I think it was for all of us. And, our run defense was tough, and especially as the end of the year went, losing some of those D linemen, it hurt us. Losing Hargrave hurt us a lot more than people realize. Not having Trey throughout the whole year hurt us. The linebackers that replaced him hurt us. So that's something that we knew we were thin at going into the year. Then we had a couple injuries that made it harder to not hold on. We were kind of holding on, and that's why we feel we're somewhat starting over with it. I mean, you had a guy like Nick, you have a guy like Fred. You still have some really good players in there. But we do have to hit on some of these draft picks. We got to add in some youth, and we got to change it up a little bit.
And I remember in 17 and 18, before you were really loaded up with players, the one thing the defense was good at was run defense. How much of that is a testament to Robert schematically? How good is he against the run?
I mean, Robert's gonna. It's not necessarily how. If you have good players and you have a good scheme, you should be good against the run, and so that's where you try to make it. When you lose players or someone's getting after your scheme, how do you adjust it? And I think the experience that Robert's had, he's had to do that over the years. That's stuff that we had to do last year where we knew we were banged up and we had to do some different things. And when we did some different things, it was hit or miss. You get a few guys out of a gap, it works for a little bit, but you're being a little more risky than usual. And now they break a 60-yarder, and now your run stats are completely messed up. So that's stuff that Robert's gone through a bunch. He's done it in New York, he's done it here, and you always want to be able to add it and fix it with personnel. But when you can't fix it with personnel right away, you got to do it with scheme, and Robert's been successful doing that with both.
If Saleh were to get a head coaching job after this year, it would probably be a good sign for what he did for defense. But what kind of conversations do you have to have with him about that? Just given the fact that you've been through so many coordinators the last few years.
I mean, you understand that's his ultimate goal, and that is for almost every coach. So, I mean, if we had a hell of a year and we lost Saleh to another team, I'd be happy for him, disappointed for us, but I think that would mean we were doing some pretty good things too. So that's something you got to be prepared for in this league. We are in offense, we are in defense, you got to be on special teams, and it's something everyone has got to deal with.
All right, so the focus on Robert Saleh, and of course, I zeroed in on that 49ers run defense, which has not been good. If you want a statistical illustration, here you go. Blue is good, red is bad, run is in this first column. They slid all the way down to number 29. Now, this has been a 2-year regression for the 49ers in terms of bad run defense. From number 2 in 2022, a perennial top 5 finishes here, to number 26 under Steve Wilkes, number 29 under Nick Sorensen. If you want another illustration, this is a good one. All the defensive coordinators of the 49ers since Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017 are on this graph. You want to be further to the right and further up. If your run defense is bad, you're going to be on this left side of the y-axis. Only the past 2 years have been below average in terms of the run. Now, even 2023 looked good compared to this Nick Sorensen year, 2024. Saleh's years, though, even this is what I asked Shanahan. You heard me ask at the owners' meetings. I said, even in 2017 and 2018, the 2 years that I'm circling down here in the bottom right, the defense might have struggled. The team might have been talent deficient, but Robert Saleh still managed to field a solid run defense for the 49ers. The EPA per rush allowed above league average. You could look at more data. This is Saleh's track record with both the 49ers and the Jets. The only time that he had a below average run defense, like significantly below average, is either a defensive coordinator or a head coach where he was in charge of the defense, was his first season with the Jets. But then the Jets got better from every single season, from 2021 over to 2022 to 2023. Good course of improvement for Robert Saleh's defense. And with the 49ers, the run defense was always good. So we're talking about the biggest weakness that the 49ers absolutely have to address. I think this is ahead of separation. I think this is ahead of run offense. I think it's even ahead of special teams because it's just much more prevalent, right? It's going to come up much more often. If you can't stop the run, you're not going to have any fun. You're not going to be able to control the game. You're going to get run out of the building. You can have an explosive offense, but it won't matter. The run defense has to at least be competent, and Robert Saleh has delivered competence with his run defenses in the past. You heard Kyle Shanahan say that the 49ers might have been ready last season if they had stayed healthy. But the injuries really, really killed this team because Nick Sorensen didn't have the type of experience to be able to line the 49ers up consistently in the right gap, especially when San Francisco was getting schemed up so that this defense could surge against the run. And once they were out of position and injured, that's when they got gashed. It was brutal. Toward the end of the season, when the 49ers were running on fumes, you saw what the Arizona Cardinals did to them. Nick Bosa called it embarrassing. The releases of Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins have a lot to do with run defense. The 49ers, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're a good pass rusher if you can't stop the run because you're never going to be in pass rushing situations. The 49ers need to face fewer 2nd and 4s, fewer 3rd and 2s. You need to be able to stop the early down run so that it is 2nd and 7, maybe even 2nd and 8. 3rd down and 6 would be nice for the 49ers defense to be able to pin its ears back and rush the passer. That is how the defense is under Saleh with the 49ers. Here on the right side of this chart, we're able to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. 2019 especially, they had those great pass rushers. But last season, the 49ers, even if they put up some decent sack numbers, sacks weren't all too meaningful. The defense as a whole finished number 26 in the league. Run defense was number 29. That has to get better. And Saleh's got schematic experience. He has the track record of improving the run defense with the Jets, from the bad start with the Jets without the personnel to here. He has the experience of making it work with the 49ers. So San Francisco, when you look at the fact that this is going to be a very inexperienced defense relative to years prior, you have Nick Bosa, you have Fred Warner, but one thing that Kyle Shanahan said in that clip was that we got to somewhat start over on run defense, which is a good thing. They chose to start over by releasing Collins, by releasing Leonard Floyd. They may release some more players. We'll see who they draft, right? This is a big defensive tackle draft. I think maybe the 49ers nabbed 2 of those guys, but it was time to tear this down and start over because they weren't any good last year. So Saleh's going to have to go back into 2021 mode with the Jets or 2017 mode with the 49ers and work with a new collection of players, although he's got a head start with Bosa and Warner, to all-pro talents in the front seven. He's going to have to make sure the safeties are in better position. You look at somebody like Jair Brown, who missed his share of tackles last year. I think Malik Mustafa can be a really good piece against the run. 49ers have to make sure he continues to successfully integrate into the system. Somebody like D. Winters. You heard Kyle Shanahan say we were missing Dre Greenlaw last year. The wide nine, which the 49ers will continue to run, as the defensive tackles and the defensive ends far apart, defensive line is stretched out along that line of scrimmage, big spacing in between those guys to give the edge rushers better pass rushing angles. But that means bigger gaps in between the linemen. So A, you're going to have really athletic offensive linemen or defensive linemen. And B, you're going to have really athletic and good physical linebackers to back up that defensive line. Here's a look at the 49ers defense right now. The red means it's a hole. They need two defensive tackles who are starting caliber players. How are they going to pick those guys up? Well, I think that the NFL draft is really their last realistic talent acquisition opportunity to be able to get a premier player. Maybe there'll be bargain bin free agency after then. Maybe they'll be able to trade for somebody down the road. But either way, the 49ers need more pieces, and Robert Saleh is going to have to coordinate with those pieces. Then backing up that elongated wide nine front, you need good linebackers. And this is why Robert Saleh was adamant about the 49ers pursuing Dre Greenlaw. Unfortunately for San Francisco, that didn't work out. We can talk all about the availability and the contract offer, and he's a Denver Bronco now. So the 49ers have to find a way to back the line effectively a year after the absence of Dre Greenlaw for most of the season really hurt them. I don't know if you caught it, but Kyle Shanahan threw some shade at Devondre Campbell there. He said the linebacker who replaced Dre hurt us last year. He specifically singled out Devondre Campbell, who walked out on the team. But even before Campbell walked out against the Rams, he wasn't very good. So is D. Winters going to be able to pick up the slack? He was rising up the depth chart. He did usurp Campbell on the depth chart right before Campbell quit on the football team. Winters just needs to continue working on his body. He needs to get stronger so he can also be able to muscle up against the run where all those bruises are inflicted near the line of scrimmage. So you see Winters there. I've got him as the favorite to be the weak side linebacker for the 49ers. Didn't mean to erase him, but I also see a potential gap there that the 49ers still have to fill, maybe through the NFL draft. Maybe Tatum Bethune could take that third linebacker spot, second-year player out of Florida State. Maybe Luke Gifford, who played for the Titans last year, can do it as well. There are options. There will be competition. That's what Kyle Shanahan is very excited about. But I want everybody to remember that as we look at these holes on the front seven of the defense, there is one underlying truth to what's going on. And the 49ers were comfortable with those holes entering the NFL draft because they have Robert Saleh, a really good defensive coordinator, back on the sideline, scheming stuff up over the course of the week. He was highly successful with San Francisco once. And just as the offense is going to be betting on Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, the defense for the 49ers, as they try to build this, there's going to be growing pains. But as they try to build this, there is a lot of belief in Robert Saleh and, of course, his main men on the field, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Deommodore Lenoir. But it is that front seven where we see the most holes for the 49ers. That's where they have to just milk the most production possible. And I think that's where your coordinator comes in. Kyle Shanahan said in that interview, you've got to scheme stuff up maybe before you have the real firepower in place. And if they draft well, that firepower will be there, but it still has to develop. I'll leave you with this. The Rams, over the first 3 months of this past season, after they drafted so much of their defense, had a lot of young guys, they were the number 29 defense through 3 months. But then the light came on. And over the last month and the playoffs, the Rams were the number 5 defense. 49ers want a similar upward trajectory with the defense. And obviously, we'll have to wait to see who they draft. But we know they're going to add to it. And then it's going to be up to Robert Saleh to coach those players up. All right, 49ers alarm clock update is in the books. Everybody, enjoy your Thursday.